Hi, I'm Dr. Erica Bruner. I am a veterinarian in Vermont, and my practice is focused on home visits for end-of-life care and acupuncture for dogs and cats. And this is part of a series of videos that I'm doing about kids and pet loss. And this one is about talking to kids about the death of a pet. So the first thing that I want to say is that it is okay not to say everything all at once. In fact, it's probably better not to say everything all at once. The way kids process information, especially about big topics like death, is similar to the way that they eat. You know, if you've watched a kid eat an apple, they take 2 bites and then they put the apple down and then they go do something else and then they come back and they take a couple more bites and then they go do something else, and then maybe like later in the day they'll keep eating the apple if we let them. It's not unusual for kids to only really feel like they want a small amount of information at a time and to go off and do something else, or to seem distracted while you're trying to talk to them. If they're acting like they're not really listening, it's a hint to you that you're probably saying too much. So think about giving little pieces of information and then responding to their questions as they ask them. And the other thing that's really important, I think, is to be clear and not to use euphemisms. Like passed away or put down or put to sleep. These things are not very clear, and they don't really help kids understand what we're actually trying to talk about with them. And especially the word sleep, I strongly recommend avoiding using the word sleep at all when you're talking to kids about death. This can require maybe some practice in advance. Maybe we actually have to pretend to have this conversation with our kid before we have it, so that we can get used to using the word death without feeling super anxious about it. You know, our culture is afraid of talking about death, but we don't have to transmit that fear. Death is natural. Death is part of life. All living beings are going to die. It's really sad, and I think that's part of where the anxiety comes from, is we're anticipating the pain of losing someone that we love. But the more clarity that we can bring when we're talking about it to our kids, the better. And so I'll have more about that in one of the videos in this series. But you've got to let their feelings be okay. And they may have strong feelings, they may not, you know, depending on their age, depending on how attached they are to this pet. It might not make that big of a difference in their lives, or it might. Or they might end up kind of processing the loss of their pet as a way to talk about maybe the loss of a family member. So being okay with whatever they're feeling and however they are thinking about it is, I think, a useful thing for us. Reassuring them that they have love and support from other family members, from you, depending on their age. And I think pet loss can probably hit elementary school age kids particularly hard, because at that age a pet is often also a friend or a sibling. They're more than just an animal, and losing them can really turn somebody's world upside down. So knowing that they still have the love and support of you and of other family members is really important. And if they seem kind of stuck in pain, you know, having an actual process to talk about pain and also to talk about good things at the same time is really useful. A memory box that might contain the pet's toys or their collar or tags, pictures of the pet, pictures of the kid with the pet, pictures of even just pictures of other things that remind you of the pet. Writings, you know, we can do some writings together with our kids about what we remember about the pet, about the joyful things that they brought to our lives. And we can write and talk about how much we miss them. One of the things that I still am challenged about learning about feelings, even as an adult, is that they come and go, and that the more we can kind of accept the ebb and flow of feelings in our hearts, the more we can be okay with them. We don't have to feel any certain way. We don't have to feel sad. We don't have to feel happy. But we can feel sad, and then we can feel happy, and then we can feel sad again. And all of these things can coexist. And that's normal and natural, and that's what I want to teach my kid about feelings. Sometimes it's helpful to have a picture. This is just a simple picture of flowers that I drew, and you could draw a picture like this with your kid, and then you could go through, and on each flower you might write something like, maybe something wonderful that you remember about your pet, like he had really soft ears, or he loved to play with me outside in the yard, or maybe even they're just happy things about life in general. Sometimes when you're feeling grief, it's hard to remember that there are other happy things. And so if we take a moment just to remind ourselves that sadness and happiness can coexist and that there are happy things in the world, it could be something as simple as just, the trees are beautiful today. Anything can go on there. So I hope that's useful. Let's see, that's all that's on my list for this particular talk, but other talks in the series are going to feature more specific conversation about exactly talking about, the sort of nitty-gritty of death and loss. And I'm going to have a video also about, should my child be present at the euthanasia of our pet? And I hope to actually talk to my daughter, who's 12, and have a video with her in this series. If you have any suggestions for the series, if you'd like to have a consultation about your specific situation, I can do that from anywhere in the world via Skype or telephone. And you can contact me by sending in the contact form on my website, which is at www.heartofvermontvet.com. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks.